5 key impact areas to build your brand. I'm super excited to go over this today. Essentially, we are going to look at the art of impressive service. Your service can be described as all the points of contact and actions which help meet your customers' expectations. And you thought this was all about branding. Well, it is. There are many brands of mobile phones in the marketplace, but as I type this article, I know that iPhone is the only phone which exists in the heart and minds of most iPhone customers. A lot of people desire an iPhone simply because they cannot afford it. And quite simply, it is because of what a company like Apple do, which brands their phone into the customers of the marketplace. And what you do in your business is deliver a promise. This is service. So how are we going to deliver a level of service, or at least think about the service we already provide with the aim of having our clients impressed? Is perfection possible? Well, somehow I don't think so. And if you have ever tried to make the mistake of trying to please everybody you meet, you will quickly realize it is an impossible task. And in the world of business, it also can leave you broke. Now, we do not want to be there, so it pays a little attention to just switch your focus from trying to achieve perfection over to trying to improve key elements which will have a high impact results in your business. This is what you and your team want to aim for. You may have been to a nice hotel and noticed that any staff you bump into are congenial, very friendly and helpful. How do they hire these people, these wonderful people? What do they do to find these people? Do these people just slide into the office off the high street with that type of amazing personality? Is the bubbly personality how they normally are? The truth is, it is a little bit of both. That natural talent is obviously a good thing, but great talent achieves a lot with great training and practice. So some of the people who work with you may not be naturally outgoing or bubbly all the time. Nobody is really. But if you think a little bit about the service side of your business, the areas where your team or your products are in contact with your customers, it can be helpful to try and create a more outgoing, welcoming atmosphere. You ultimately want to transfer a feeling of an impressive service, and that's what we are going to go into today. How are we going to provide service which goes beyond the expectations of the customer? Your place of business, or the way you do business, becomes a place where customers are literally blown away with the way you deliver your promise to them. So what are these high impact points in providing a good service, and are these impact points transferable to providing training to our team, especially when we want to bring a higher energy out for the workplace on a daily basis? There are basically 5 impact areas, and the 5th element is the glue which connects the other 4 elements together and keeps everything going. The first element is our communication with the customer. When a customer is in any form of contact with a member of our team or a delivery of your product, you want to think about this specific time as a moment of truth, if you like. This presents an opportunity to communicate your intentions to the customer. What does giving them your service or product mean to you, and how do you feel knowing it will impact their life in a positive way? I mean, you feel great about it. Do they know you do? And do they know you appreciate their custom? A cheerful energy will communicate that, and when this energy is focused like a laser beam on the customer, if they have a pulse, they will most definitely feel it. And keep this cheerful energy giving simple. Call your customers when you can by their name. Like, hey Mark, how are you doing today? Or look at the weather outside, nice today, isn't it? It sounds like small talk, but small talk on a daily basis to people who are important to you has a big impact. The best description I heard about this in relation to this cheerful energy is to think about your clients having emotional bank account. And every time you interact with them, if you are able to give them something positive, this means a deposit has been made into their emotional bank account. You want to keep this account topped up on a regular basis. The key thing to remember is everyone you come into contact with on some level wants to feel acknowledged. And it is your job to try and provide that for your customers. And the funny karmic thing about this is that when you and your staff make a habit of it, of acknowledging and being cheerful with your customers, you and your team will tend to feel better about your day. Now, the second impact area is a bit of a tricky one because it can require a little bit of skill. But with the right training, it will fit snugly into the fabric of your daily activities. The second area is all about finding options for your customer. And this area becomes particularly important at times when you may not have what the customer is specifically looking for. The intention behind this impact area is you and your team should always be looking for ways of accommodating your customer's needs. An example of this is when a customer calls in and they want to book an appointment. The problem you have is you are fully booked on that day. Now, the natural thing for most people at the end of the phone to say is, "I'm sorry, we are fully booked today," and then they would leave it there. An alternative interaction would be, "Unfortunately, we are booked up for that day, but what I can do for you is," and then you go into the options. "We can get you in on the next day, or we can get you in next week. Oh, and what I can do for you is I can put you on our hot list for today, which means if anyone cancels an appointment, then you get first refusal for that space." So I hope you get the point. There are going to be times when we cannot specifically deliver what the customer wants in that specific time, but there is still an opportunity to give them options which help them reach the same goals for the transaction. There may be other times when you have to dig a little deeper to find a solution for them, but the same rule still applies. How can you create options for the client without compromising the business too much while getting the customer what they came for? It still applies when the customer is not happy with the product or service you have provided for them. What can you do to help them in their mind reach their expectations? The second impact area is one I first heard about in the early 90s through a book called Swimming with Sharks by Harvey Mackay. Harvey Mackay built a sizable business on the back of exceeding customers' expectations, and he kept up to date with his customers in a novel way. This was before the days of the internet and digital planner. Harvey Mackay's company would keep customers' names and small details about them in a tickler card system. When a customer would call into the business, their card would be brought to the operator, and the small details on the card would be peppered into the conversation. What kind of small details were relevant? Well, mostly anything and everything. Did the customer have a pet? Was it a cat or a dog? How many children did they have? What were their names? And anything new which came up in the conversation would be updated or added to the card until the next time. So you want to get into the habit of collecting information about your customer, but not in a NSA Pentagon kind of way, but with the intention of making a deeper connection in every interaction, which goes back to helping your customers feel acknowledged. There is no need to go crazy with it. The key remembering to take away is there are probably a few things in a specific customer's life which are always at the top of their minds and carried around in their hearts every day. You are trying to raise the quality of your interaction with them to another level. Quite often, this kind of interest with your customer helps you identify their truer needs in relation to your product or service. The fourth impact area is another form of acknowledgement called the follow-up. Very often in our business, we can get so caught up in the busyness of our day, buzzing between offices, checking emails, wolfing down our lunch, interrupted with phone calls, we fail to take a few minutes while the grass is growing around us. We fail to take a few minutes to call in on a customer to ask them how they're getting on since the transaction, maybe a day or two later. This gives your level of service a deeper level of connection and penetration with your customer. Through something like a simple phone call or an email, or a small postcard through the mail to say thank you, or invite their comments with a free gift offer they can redeem online. In the social media age we live in, any form of good news your customers volunteer to their friends and family about you can have a positive effect on your business. So the art of follow-up should always be permeating in your business. Everyone in your team should should at least be aware of it. Now, you do not have to do it with everyone because not all customers are equal, but just sprinkle and apply this impact area to some key customers. That should be enough. Now, here's the thing. There is one impact area which holds all of these elements together and makes them work for you. If you do not do this one thing, then guess what? A lot of what we are trying to do with the 4 elements will make you look like a one-hit wonder. A flash in the pan, here today and gone tomorrow. So you get the idea. The 5th impact area is consistency. You have to be super consistent with this idea of giving impressive service. Every time that customer is in contact with your business, that same element of service has to be there. And this is what is going to separate you from the other businesses in your marketplace. So the way you do this is going back to the 4 impact areas and training yourself and your team so your company is consistent with them on a daily basis. The military have a term for this when training turns into a regular action out in the field. Any action which is repeatable becomes known as a standard operating procedure. Once you have delivered an impressive level of service to a customer, this is the new benchmark they set for you for their next visit with you. You better be on when showtime comes around again. This is the kind of practice which separates the best hotels and resorts of the world and the ones which are just good. You know yourself if you go into any A+ hotel, the Savoy, the Ritz, Carlton, or think of your favorite hotel or resort. You can pretty much predict the type of experience you will have, and you will also be aware that the hotel will do what they can to accommodate your needs while you stay there. So this is the blueprint for a great brand. Getting customers who think about you when they have a specific need and having them feel you in their hearts when they have to make a choice. And that choice to make a transaction is always an emotional choice.